Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we will continue the 10th chapter, Sloka 34. And here, on the request of Arjuna, to to show Krishna's opulence or to enlighten him on the various opulence of him, so that Arjuna can see Krishna, or he is just Arjuna is like paving way for all the other people, common people, so that they can have an idea of Krishna. They can actually perceive Krishna through the material things. So then Krishna says, yeah, like everything that exists is his vibhuti, his energies, and through which we can see him. And Krishna is telling that to describe everything will be very difficult, and like he will only tell about the prominent ones. And in the prominent ones, he is speaking about so many various things. And today, this is a very, very famous line which Srila Prabhupada often uses, Mrityuhu sarva harascha aham. Prabhupada says, if we are not willing to see Krishna in his most auspicious, beautiful form, then he will be present in the form of death. No, Mrityu sarva harascha aham. Right? So, like Krishna is telling, I am death. No, so that way, like Krishna is seen in so many different ways. Okay. Mrityu sarvaharascha udbhavascha bhavishyataam kirtihi shrir bhakcha narinam smritir meda dhriti kshama. I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, and fine speech. Fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. Purport: as soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus, death is devouring every living entity at every moment. But the last stroke is called death itself. So, that death is Krishna. As for future development, all living entities undergo six basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally they vanish. Of these changes, the first is deliverance from the womb, that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities. Okay, so the seven opulences listed: fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience are considered feminine. If a person possesses all of them or some of them, he becomes glorious. If a man is famous as a righteous man, that makes him glorious. Sanskrit is a perfect language and is therefore very glorious. If after studying one can remember a subject matter, he is gifted with good memory or smriti, and the ability not only to read many books on different subject matters, but to understand them and apply them when necessary is intelligence, that is meda, that is another opulence. The ability to overcome unsteadiness is called firmness or steadfastness, that is dhriti. And then when one is fully qualified yet is humble and gentle, and when one is able to keep his balance both in sorrow and in ecstasy of joy, he has the opulence of patience, that is Shama. Okay, so these are all different qualities that are feminine in nature. So out of the feminine qualities, so these are all the primary qualities that the Lord is telling that He Himself is these qualities. Text 35. Brihat samatatas samnam gayatri chandasamaham masanam margashirshoham ritunam kushumakaraha. Okay, so this is like Masana Margashirasho. So this Margashiras, and especially in the Tamil, we call it as Margali. So that is considered to be a very very auspicious month. So in the South India, like people go out and Sankirtan, or every day morning they try to do something auspicious and go to the temples and things like that. So that's because of this statement here, right? Okay, of the hymns in the Sama Veda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of poetry, I am Gayatri. Of the months, I am Margashiras, that is November, December. And of the seasons, I am the flower bearing spring. Okay. Purport. It has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas, he is the Sama Veda. The Sama Veda is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. One of these songs is Brihat Sama, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. And so already it is mentioned that the Lord represents, means the best of all the Vedas is the Sama Veda because it has many beautiful songs. And then amongst them, also Krishna is mentioning, I am Brihat Sama. Okay. In Sanskrit, there are definite rules that regulate poetry, rhythm, and meter are not. In Sanskrit, there are definite rules that regulate poetry. Rhythm and meter are not written whimsically, as in much modern poetry. Amongst the regulated poetry, the Gayatri Mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified Brahmanas, is the most prominent. The Gayatri Mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam because the Gayatri Mantra is especially meant for God realization. It represents the Supreme Lord. The mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature, in order to chant the Gayatri Mantra. So, like we see that for Gayatri Mantra chanting, so one has to attain the in the material modes of nature, he should be in mode of goodness. So then he can actually chant the Gayatri Mantra. So, but then for Hare Krishna Mantra, anyone can chant and it can take us to the highest perfection. So for Gayatri Mantra, there is a prerequisite, it is there, right? So, but Hare Krishna Mantra is even more powerful that there is no need of any prerequisite. Anybody can chant Hare Krishna Mantra. Okay, the Gayatri Mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator and it is passed down from him in disciplic succession. Okay? So it's first revealed to Lord Brahma in his heart, and then he passed it down. In this one, he is the original Brahmana in the whole creation, and from Brahma comes other Brahmanas. Okay, the month of November, December is considered the best of all months because in India, grains are collected from the fields at this time, and the people become very happy. Of course, spring is a season universally liked because it is neither too hot nor too cold, and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. In spring, there are also many ceremonies commemorating Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, this is considered to be the best, to be the most joyful of all seasons, and it is the representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Okay, text 36. Dyutam chalayatam tejasvinamaham jayosmi vyavasayosmi sattvam sattvatamaham. I am also the gambling of cheats, and of the splendid I am the splendor. I am victory, and I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong. So here we see that Krishna is telling he's the gambling of cheats. So we see that no, he is the biggest cheat. No, he came as Vamanadev, he cheated Bali Maharaj. And then also like when the demons took off the Amruta, snatched off the Amruta from the hands of Dhanvantri, then the Lord appeared as Mohini just to cheat the demons. So in this way, like the Lord is the greatest cheat. No, he is the best amongst all categories, right? So, and he's the Tejas Vinamaham. So of any splendid things, no, he is the splendor of the splendid things. No, he is the beauty, or he is the amazing aspect of the splendid things. And I am victory. No, he is the victory, and he is adventure, and he is the strength of the strong. So, okay. Then purport. There are many kinds of cheaters all over the universe. Of all cheating process, gambling stands supreme and therefore represents Krishna. As the supreme, Krishna can be more deceitful than any mere man. If Krishna chooses to deceive a person, no one can surpass him in his deceit. His greatness is not simply one sided, it is all sided. It is not that no, Krishna is only great in the good things. Krishna is great in the bad things also. No, he's everything. He's Sarva Karana Karanam. Right? Amongst the victorious, he is the victory. He is the splendor of the splendid. Amongst the enterprising and industrious, he is the most enterprising, the most industrious. No, like nobody has created so many universes. People may have created some companies which are having what is it branches in all the parts of the world, but here Krishna has created many worlds themselves, and we can understand how enterprising Krishna is, right? And amongst adventures, he is the most adventurous, and amongst the strong, he is the strongest. When Krishna was present on earth, no one could surpass him in strength. Even in his childhood, he lifted Govardhan hill. No one can surpass him in cheating. No one can surpass him in splendor. No one can surpass him in victory. No one can surpass him in enterprise. And no one can surpass him in strength. Okay. Text 37. Vrishninam Vasudevosmi Pandavanam Dhananjayah Muninam Api Aham Vyasah Kavinam Ushana Kavi. So here we see that Vrishninam, so of the descendants of the this one, like the Krishna's family. So in that, Vasudev, Vasudev is he himself, like, and then so, and Pandavanam Dhananjaya. So like he's amongst the Pandavas, he is putting himself Arjuna, and then Muninam Vyasaha, and then Kavinam Ushana Kavi. No, that is this Ushana. Like okay, so of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudev, and of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. No, Arjuna is the best amongst the Pandavas. Of the sages, he is Vyasa, and amongst the great thinkers, he is Ushana. So purport, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Baladev is Krishna's immediate expansion. Both Krishna and Baladev appeared as the son of Vasudev, so both of them may be called as Vasudev. From another point of view, because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, from all the forms of Krishna that appears elsewhere are his expansions. So Vasudev is Krishna's immediate expansion. So sometimes we have studied this. So Krishna's expansions are Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Right? So these are all the four Chaturvyuha expansions, and Vasudeva is the immediate expansion of Krishna. So like Krishna never, the original Krishna, he never leaves Vrindavan. And whoever comes in the outside Vrindavan and performs all these other activities is the Vasudeva expansion of Krishna. Okay. So Krishna's immediate expansion. So Vasudeva is non-different from Krishna. It is to be understood that Vasudeva referred to in this verse of Bhagavad Gita as Baladev or Balaram, because he is the original source of all incarnations, and thus he is the sole source of Vasudev. No, this is a very big tattva, so we will not get into too much details of this. So there is, Balaram is the fountainhead or the source of all the incarnations. So first Krishna expands into Balaram, Balaram expands into Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan further expands the creation, spiritual creation and material creation. So in this way, it's a huge topic. So, but anyways, like we will, here it is mentioned that here Vasudev that is mentioned in the shloka is Balaram. Okay. The immediate expansion of the Lord are called Sva Amsha. So this also we have studied. Sva means like one's own. Amsha is like is an aspect or an part or something like that. So Sva Amsha means one's own personal expansion. And then there are also Vibhinna Amsha, separated expansion. So we are the separated expansions. So we are souls separated from Krishna. So like Vibhinna Amsha. So different from Krishna. So among the sons of Pandu, Arjuna is famous as Dhananjaya. He is the best of men and therefore represents Krishna. Among the Munis are learned men conversant in Vedic knowledge. Vyasa is the greatest because he explained Vedic knowledge in many different ways for the understanding of the common mass of people in this age of Kali. And Vyasa is also known as the incarnation of Krishna. That's why he's called as Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, right? So he's he's also one of the incarnations of Krishna. So therefore, Vyasa also represents Krishna. Kavis are those who are capable of thinking thoroughly on any subject matter. Among Kavis, Ushana or Sukracharya was a spiritual master of demons. He was an extremely intelligent and far-seeing politician. Thus, Sukracharya is another representative of the opulence of Krishna. Okay, text 38. Dando Damayatham Asmi Nitirasmi Jigishatham Maunam Chaivasmi Guhyanam Jnana Vathamaham. Among all means of surpassing lawlessness, I am punishment. And of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I am silence. And of the wise, I am the wisdom. Purport. There are many suppressing agents, of which the most important are those that cut down the miscreants. When miscreants are punished, the agency of chastisement represents Krishna, right? So there is what is that? Sama Beda Dana Danda, like something like that is there. No, there are the four things that are used for handling the opposition. So in that danda is the final thing, like no punishment. So that is Krishna. No, there is a peaceful talk or negotiation and something like that. No, I'm not able to remember that four things exactly. So out of the four things, this is Krishna represents the danda or the punishment. Okay, amongst those who are trying to be victorious in some field, the most victorious element is morality. So morality always wins. So among the confidential activities of hearing, thinking and meditating, silence is most important, because by silence one can make progress very quickly. The wise man is he who can discriminate between matter and spirit, between God's superior and inferior natures. Such knowledge is Krishna himself. So here we see the knowledge is defined. Knowledge means, okay, let's see what the dictionary definition of knowledge. No, it says facts, information, skills acquired by a person and things like that. Actually, this is all like very, very low definition or very inferior definition of knowledge. So, or what is known in a particular field, through justified belief can never become knowledge, right? So here we see that knowledge means to know the difference between matter and spirit. No, that's knowledge, right? Okay, text 39. Yachapi sarva bhutanam bijam tadaham arjuna natad asti vina yatsyan maya bhutam characharam. Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am generating seed of all existence. There is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me. Hmm. Everything has a cause, and that cause or seed of manifestation is Krishna. Without Krishna's energy, nothing can exist. Therefore, he is called omnipotent. Without his potency, neither the movable nor the immovable can exist. Whatever exists is not founded on the energy of whatever existence is not founded on the energy of Krishna is called Maya, that which is not. Right. So this we studied in the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, the definition of Maya. Right. So the definition of Maya is like that which, we are able to see something, but then perceive something, but we are not able to see its connection to Krishna. So then it is called Maya. Right. So that's how this is mentioned. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so text 40. Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa yeshattu deshatah shata prokto vibhuter vistaro maya. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. No, there is, it's like unlimited opulence. Krishna's opulence is what I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulence. Purport. As stated in the Vedic literature, although the opulence and energy of the Supreme are understood in various ways, there is no limit to such opulence. Therefore, not all the opulence and energies can be explained. Simply a few examples are being described to Arjuna to pacify his inquisitiveness. As we have always discussed, a thirsty man cannot empty the reservoir of water. He can only drink few liters, maybe 1 or 2 liters. That's all. So that's how only few aspects of Krishna's opulence is mentioned. So in fact, Krishna's opulence is unlimited. Text 41. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam srimadurjitam eva va tad tad eva vagachatvam mama tejom sasambhavam. So this is a very, very important sloka. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam. No, whatever vibhuti, whatever opulence, we are able to see, is there. Srimat urjavam eva va tatad eva vagachatvam mama tejom sasambhavam. So it is possible. No, sambhavam means it is possible. No, by mama teja. No, it is mama teja amsha. It is a part of my teja. It is just a spark of my splendor. No, Krishna is telling, whatever you are able to see in this world, it's just but a spark of my splendor. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Right? Purport. Any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. Okay, text 42. Atava बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टभ्याहम् idam कृष्णम् एकांशेन स्थितो jagat. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support the entire universe. Right? So this is like ultimatum he is giving. Purport. The Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universe by his entering into all things as the super soul. And this Krishna entering into all things as super soul, he is telling, no, just by a single fragment of myself. No. So that's how much like it takes for Krishna to maintain and manage the entire material affairs. No, it's not a tiresome effort. He just aram say he just manages with effortlessly. Okay. So the Lord here tells Arjuna that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. He should know that all things are existing due to Krishna's entering them as the super soul. From Brahma, the most gigantic entity, on down to the smallest ant, all are existing because the Lord has entered each and all and is sustaining them. So this is the amazing aspect. So everything, anything that is alive, anything that is active, anything that is existing means, behind that the hand of Lord is there, right? So just by waking up every day in the morning and seeing everything around, we can actually become Krishna conscious. That's the wonderful aspect of this 10th chapter. It helps us to become Krishna conscious in every aspect of our life, right? So there is a mission that regularly propounds that worship of any demigod will lead one to the supreme personality of Godhead or the supreme goal. Okay, so here we see that if everything represents Krishna, then why not demigods? No, why not we worship demigods? A nice point Prabhupada is bringing about. But worship of demigods is thoroughly discouraged herein because even the greatest demigods like Brahma and Shiva represent only a part of the opulence of the Supreme Lord. He is the origin of everyone born, and no one is greater than him. He is Asamurdhva. So Asama Urdhva. So this Asamurdhva means like Asama means there is nobody equal to him, and Urdhva. Urdhva means like in the 15th chapter we have this sloka, right? Urdhva Moolam, Adaha Shakam. Urdhva means higher. So the Supreme Lord is Asama and Urdhva. Urdhva. So that is like there is no one equal to him, there is no one superior to him. No, that is the word, that is the meaning of this word, Asamurdhva. So there is no one greater than him. No. So which means that no one is superior to him and that no one is equal to him. In the Padma Puran, it is said that one who considers the Supreme Lord Krishna in the same category with the demigods, be they even Brahma or Shiva, becomes at once an atheist. If he, however, if, however, one thoroughly studies the different descriptions of the opulence and expansions of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt the position of Lord Sri Krishna and can fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation. So, okay, so Krishna, like Prabhupada is covering a different aspect here. So, even Brahma's creation is inspired by Krishna, and like Lord Shiva's destruction is also inspired and powered by Krishna, right? So, the other question that I raised is if no, Krishna is the sustaining factor of everything, no, and Krishna is like no, we can perceive Krishna in various things of this world. Then why not we worship demigods who is also representing Krishna? So the thing that is mentioned is like no, we have many different parts of our body, and like no, these parts of the body are there, eyes are there, nose is there, ears is there, mouth is there. But if we want to feed the food to the body, we have to put the food in the mouth. We cannot put the food in the ears or nose, so then it will become a problem, right? So though all these demigods are also part and parcel of the Lord, but no, we cannot offer worship to them. Offering worship is supplying the food to the entire system, and that has to be like supplied to the mouth. The like in the Vedic procedures, people know who are who perform the Vedic sacrifices. So the Yajna Kunda is considered to be the mouth of Vishnu. So Ahuti is offered in the mouth of Vishnu. Like Ahuti or like worship is offered to Krishna or Vishnu only, not to any demigods. Right? So that's very clear in the Vedic principle. Okay. So now by understanding various opulence of Krishna, so one has to fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation. The Lord is all pervading by the expansion of his partial representation, the super soul who enters into everything that is. Pure devotees therefore concentrate their mind in Krishna consciousness in full devotional service. Therefore, they are always situated in transcendental position. Devotional service and worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter in the verses 8 through 11. That is the way of pure devotional service. How verses 8 through 11 is this Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita, right? So that's very clearly mentioned here. So we will just at the end of this chapter, we will just have a little glimpse of this Chaturshloki. Like I'll just give one just brief about it, just before we conclude. So that is the way of pure devotional service. How one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, a great acharya in disciplic succession from Krishna, concludes his commentary on this chapter by saying, Yachatti leshat suryadhya bhavati atyugra tejasah yad amshena dhritam vishwam sa krishno dasham me dashamerchate. From Lord Krishna's potent energy, even the powerful sun gets its power, and by Krishna's partial expansion, the whole world is maintained. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna is worshipable. Thus in the Bhaktivedanta purport to the 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the opulence of the Absolute. So in the, we will just see a little brief of the Chaturshloki. So that is the 8th shloka is Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mattas Sarvam Pravartata Iti Matva Bhajante Mam Bhuda Bhava Samanvitaha. So his Lord is telling that I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. No, this is a very important principle. The Bhagavatam also starts with this thing. No Janma Adhyashyataha. Right? So Krishna is the source of all spiritual and material worlds, and everything is emanating from him. The wise who perfectly know this engage in devotional service and worship him with all their hearts. No, that's the first of Chaturshloki. And then the thoughts, Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. The thoughts of my pure devotee dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Right? So the first sloka I told that no, Krishna is the source of everything, and because of that, the wise he will engage in devotional service and worship with all heart. And second of the Chaturshloki says that the pure devotee's mind always dwells in the Supreme Lord, and no, they are always devoted and they derive great satisfaction and bliss in discussing Krishna Katha, enlightening one another and conversing about the Supreme Lord. Exactly what we are trying to do. Now, in the afternoon reading sessions, we are just trying to read Bhagavad Gita and discuss. So this is this is a very nice thing that Krishna also mentions in the Chaturshloki. And then Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. So one who is constantly engaged, constantly devoted to serving the Supreme Lord in this way with love. So the Lord gives the understanding. Dadami Buddhi Yogam. No, the Lord gives Dadami. Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. So like in that way, we can very easily attain the Lord. So it is not that we are left to find the Lord, right? And uh, and then the last sloka is really very amazing sloka. Tesham eva anukampartam aham ajnana jam tamaha nashayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. So here he is telling that when I become very, very merciful upon somebody, I destroyed their no, aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayami atma bhavasto. I actually destroy their ego. No, I cut their ego literally. And the Lord is telling. So when Lord is cutting somebody's ego, nashayami atma bhavasto. So that means like we should understand the Lord is very, very merciful upon him. And jnana deepena bhashvata. So then, like the real knowledge actually can arise in the heart, right? So to show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Right. So this is this one very amazing set of slokas, the 4 slokas. So with this, we will conclude today's discussion, and we will start again tomorrow with the 11th chapter. So today, even like many of us have the examination of Bhakti Shastri, so we are preparing for that. So I would like to end the session a little early today. Okay. So thank you all very much for joining. Yeah. So this is, can we recite the Chaturshloki daily? Yeah, we can recite. We can even recite many more slokas. It's always very auspicious to recite Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Okay. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.